Welcome to the Holistic Career Change Podcast. Spoiler alert, we don't discuss conventional, linear, boring career change here. This is the place where we talk about finding an aligned career path that feels like an extension of who you are, where you get paid for being yourself. Forget personality quizzes, soul-crushing scrolling on job sites, and breaking your brain trying to find your why. Join me and many other career changers who've changed their career holistically by first defining who they are at their core and then using this blueprint to design a fulfilling career or business. We use the mind-body-soul approach, and we take into consideration the complexity and multidimensionality of all that you are and want to represent in the world. This is where purpose-led careers are born and built. I'm your host, Vilma Oseita. Let's go. Hi, beautiful souls. Happy almost holiday season. So I'm just sitting here with my coffee and I decided to record a podcast for you. And this is dedicated to those of you who perhaps are completely new to the career change scene, or maybe you've just discovered this podcast and my work, and you are really considering for this new year to be different. You want this to be different, but a lot of you often tell me you don't know where to start. And this episode is also dedicated for those of you who have been at this career change journey for some time. Perhaps you worked with me, perhaps you've been listening to the podcast, but you still feel like you're getting stuck or you're losing momentum. So I thought that what I'll do today, I'll record back to basics episode where I'm sharing some foundational pieces. This is quite a strategic episode on what to do when you're thinking of changing your professional life or launching a business. A lot of the stuff that I'm sharing today is not going to be new for you, but I feel like we always need that loving reminder, especially if we are starting to spin or think and we allow the gremlins to take over. So this episode is really an answer to the question that I do get quite a lot, which is if I were starting my career change journey today, knowing everything that I know now and the experiences that I had supporting so many people, what would I do different? And would I do anything different? And short answer is yes and no. And I thought, you know what? Let me tell you the real answer, not the polished Instagram-worthy version, but the honest, I wish someone grabbed me by the shoulders and told me this version. So this is for anyone who's lying in bed at 2 a.m. thinking, there has to be more than this, or anyone who's been getting ready for the last 6, 12, 24, 46 months, but hasn't actually changed anything yet, or anyone who's exhausted from pretending that they are fine where they are. And also, like I said, for those of you who are in the messy middle of a career change, and you just want some motivation and validation on the next steps. So you can grab your journal, grab your tea, whatever you need, and let's get into that. Before I give you, by the way, the practical roadmap, I really need to tell you about this story that if you've been following me, again, you know the story. I share about it in my emails. I talked about it on my podcast, but I feel like that was a pivotal point for me. And I remember it so clearly. It was cold, dark, winter afternoon. It was around 2 p.m. in the afternoon. I was still in my PJs. And I'm not talking like cute loungewear. I'm talking about like full on, haven't left the house in 3 days. And there might be a coffee stain on my shirt, pajamas. I was sitting at my kitchen table, staring at my laptop, completely frozen. And that was a period of time when I had quit my job, just literally walked away from my government work. I didn't have any backup plan. I didn't have any safety net. I just had this burning, desperate knowing that I couldn't do it for one more day. I couldn't pretend that that life was aligned with me, that I was having a good time. And, many of you know I grew up in a post-Soviet country. I'm from the Baltics, from Lithuania. And doing something like that, having no backup plan, having no safety lined up was basically insane. Because you don't just quit a stable job. My family thought I lost my mind. And honestly, sitting there like that dark Tuesday, I thought maybe they were right. Because nobody tells you about what comes after the brave moment of quitting, that dopamine hit of feeling like badass, like Bruce Almighty walking on water, putting in my resignation and saying goodbye, I'll never come back here. But they don't tell you about the terror, about the paralysis, about the voice in your head screaming, "What have you done?" And here I was, my fancy degrees in finance, years of experience in banking, consulting, government work, and I had absolutely zero idea what an aligned career even looked like. And I really, really tried changing the circumstances. I was trying new companies, new roles, new business cards, thinking that would fix the hollow feeling that I was feeling inside that was getting louder and louder. And so there I sat, unemployed, terrified, and I was rebelliously refusing to go back to the soul-crushing work, but I also completely felt utterly lost. And that moment, that uncomfortable, scary, I have no idea what I'm doing moment was actually the beginning of everything, at least for me. And I feel like if you look back at your journey, or maybe you are at that point, at that theoretical 2 a.m. cold winter afternoon, and that might have been, or listening to this podcast, maybe be that turning point for you. But for me, that was the beginning of everything. But oh my goodness, did I make it so much harder than it needed to be? So if I could go back, if I could sit down with that version of me, the pajama Vilma, the coffee stained shirt, and feeling terrified, and if I could give her the roadmap, here's exactly what I would tell her and what I am telling you today in this episode. So whether you're actively miserable, or maybe you're quietly unfulfilled, whether you are already thinking of quitting, or you've already quit, or you still feel stuck, the path forward is usually the same. And the first thing that I tell myself, stop doing the research, stop watching all the inspirational YouTube videos and signing up to all the courses that, quote unquote, I may need in the future. And listen, I know that there is temptation. God, do I know it? I still love a good course, don't get me wrong. But when you don't know what to do next, right, that is not what's going to give you with direction. However, it may feel like a safe choice. It may feel safe to just keep learning and learning and learning and be that forever student. One more course, one more credential, one more thing to make you feel, quote unquote, ready. But here's what I need you to understand and really, really hear this. You're not lacking skills and you're not lacking knowledge. You're lacking clarity right now. And no certification in the world is going to give you clarity. Hey, before we continue, I want to chat with you real quick. If you're anything like most of the people in this space, you're probably someone who's drawn to so many different aspects of healing. Maybe energy work calls to you. Maybe you're interested in psychology and mindset. Maybe you're fascinated by herbalism or somatic practices. Maybe you're into intuitive development, or maybe you just love creating systems and frameworks to help others transform. Or perhaps you're someone who wondered, why can't I just pick one thing? Why am I interested in absolutely everything? So here's what I want you to hear. These interests that you have are not random. They are not a sign that you are scattered or that you are unfocused. They are breadcrumbs that are leading you to your specific medicine. And this unique combination of what lights you up, that's your signature. That's your unrepeatable, unique blend of gifts. And I've created something to help you make sense of it all. It's called the Lightworker Archetype Assessment, which is a completely free tool that will help you uncover your primary healing gifts and how you're meant to weave all of these passions together into your unique expression. It takes about 15 minutes to complete, and I've had already hundreds of lightworkers telling me that it was like finally finding the missing puzzle piece. Some laughed because it suddenly made perfect sense, and others cried because they finally felt seen for who they truly are. You'll find a link to the assessment in the show notes. It's only experience, it's trying things out and building momentum through action that will give you the clarity that right now you might be seeking in that course, in that YouTube video, in that book. Okay, so I'm going to give you the timeline or the roadmap for the first 3 months and what I would do and what I would invite you to try out if you are still feeling stuck and you feel like you need clarity. So month 1, as opposed to those endless research loops and endless consuming and considering everything and anything, and then as a result getting extremely overwhelmed, I invite you to get brutally honest with yourself. Stop with the petty excuses. Stop with it's not the right time or I need more qualification. These are not the real reasons. So what I would do, I would sit down with my journal and I'd write, first of all, what actually makes me want to cry on Sunday nights or dread Monday mornings? What is it that I'm actually avoiding here? What feels off? What makes my body shut down? I want you to get super granular and super specific because we tend to generalize. We tend to generalize and distort our answers, but really, have you ever sat down and asked yourself this specific question and gave yourself time to respond in very specific, detailed way? Because that's where all the juice and that's where all your breakthroughs are at. I would then journal. I would then ask myself, what am I naturally good at? Not what my resume says. What I'm actually good at when nobody's watching. What gives me energy? Write down every single thing, even if it feels random, especially if it feels random, and especially if you feel like it has nothing to do with any career path. Write it all down. Get really, really detailed. Another question that I would answer is, what would I do if failure literally wasn't an option? If I had the support, if I had the finances, if I had all the reassurances that I need right now to move forward, what would I do? Dream. One of the things that I'm noticing with my clients and I'm talking to my colleagues about, we forgot how to dream. Yes, we create these vision boards. Yes, we, again, look at other people's aspirational life. And yet we don't look at ourselves. We don't turn around and be like, but what is my version of that YouTube vlogger who's living in the English countryside and she's gardening? What's my version of that? Okay. Another great question that I would love for you to ponder upon is, what am I generally willing to sacrifice? Time, money, comfort, other people's approval? Because there's always an exchange. And I want us to be really realistic when we are embarking on any type of transition, especially the transition within your identity, which is literally career change, is a massive change in your status and your identity. And in spite of what all of these quotes on the internet will tell us, there's always a trade-off. Please don't be fooled by the 4-hour months and, passive income. It's impossible. I mean, it is possible to live that lifestyle. Yes, but absolutely possible. I know people who've done it. I am doing that to some extent. But does it take time to build it up? Yes. Right? It's really possible, but is it even your dream? Because what I found is that many aligned, for example, entrepreneurs, people who have a fulfilling job, who found a way how to find meaning, and also who found a way how to meet their financial needs and create abundance for themselves and their family, and craft and design a lifestyle that rejuvenates them and nourishes them, frankly, they don't even want to be working 4-hour weeks. They don't want to be working 1 hour a day. They love what they do. They get energy from it. They love that feeling at the end of the day when they feel like they've been used up by their purpose. They feel of service. They feel like they can go to bed and relax and they don't have anxiety or overwhelm because they seized that day in alignment. Okay? So going back to these questions, you want to get really clear. And whatever you answer, do not second guess it. It's your truth. Do not edit it. Do not look back and try to control your answers and give the answers that you think you should have. We need that raw honesty. That raw honesty is your compass. Without the compass, we don't know where we're going. Nothing will suit us. Nothing will fit. Okay? Because here's what I've learned after supporting over 1,000 of people going through career changes. You cannot build the right thing if you're lying to yourself about what you want. It's about your alignment, your happiness, your future. So you want to make sure that your own decisions are authentic because you are the one who'll have to live with them. Not your mom, not your Aunt Susan, not your ex-colleagues that may be judging you right now. And most people are lying. They're not lying maliciously, but they're lying. They say, oh, I want more freedom, when what they really want is permission to use their creative gifts. Or they say, oh, I really need better work-life balance, when what they really mean is, I want work that doesn't feel like work. I had a client recently, by the way, a brilliant woman, who spent 6 months planning her aligned business. She knew exactly what she wanted, except she didn't. Because when she booked the session and we got really honest, what she actually wanted was permission to rest, to stop performing, to stop pretending, to be valued for who she is, not what she produces, which is what is the name of the game in corporate. She needed a break from it all. Hence, she was resisting working on her business. She was resisting working on her new career because she was tired and she needed a reset. So this is my invitation, permission to get uncomfortable, get honest, and write down the stuff you haven't even said out loud yourself yet. The real fears, the real desires, the thing you want, but perhaps you feel stupid wanting. That's your starting point. And that's what I would spend time on month 1. Every time I have a free minute, actually, I would carve out dedicated time to this. For me, it's the mornings. That's when I'm the clearest and the cleanest. That's when I do this work. I ask myself I still to this day ask myself these questions. Otherwise, I don't know where I'm going. Okay, so that's month 1. Month 2, this is where most people completely screw it up. And I say that with a lot of love. Because here's what they think. They usually think, great, now I kind of know what I want. Now I kind of have a direction. Let me sit down and create the perfect plan, whether it's a business plan, if they're thinking of a business plan, website, niche, ideal client avatar. No, absolutely not. So for example, if I was starting over tomorrow, I would start with running these messy, imperfect experiments. And I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. Try before you're ready. Dabble before you have a clear plan. Not because I invite you to be unprofessional or unprepared, by the way. Sometimes my clients will push back and be like, Vilma, but I cannot just go out there and do this because I don't have, and then give me like this long scroll of reasons why they can't do it, whether because they don't have enough experience or skills or whatever. A lot of it is made up. 90% of that is BS. Mostly it's fear. It's fear. Okay. But what I will also tell you, when you're moving into aligned careers, into aligned businesses, you already have inherent gifts, inherent knowledge, unconscious competence that you can lean on. I hear it over and over again. You guys, if I could only record these times when my clients would come back and say, wow, I tried that and it felt so easy. It felt natural. It felt organic. I feel like I was designed for this. I was born for this. I don't even know how I do this. I hear it so many times. They're like, I don't even know. I'm just in that position, in that role, and things just start moving through me, and I say things and I do things and I don't know how. Is because you already have those gifts within you that you completely downplay right now, that perhaps are not conscious to you yet. So clarity, the clarity that you're looking for so desperately, is in the action taking. So all you need to do is set out those rough experiment plans and then get it done and then evaluate. So here's what that actually could look like. I would have, 10 coffee conversations with people doing the work that makes me curious. Right. Or, and by the way, not those formal informational interviews where you get ChatGPT to create questions for you. No, heart to hearts. Heart to hearts where I would also be taking good notes, real conversations. I would ask, tell me what you actually love about this. What makes you want to quit? What surprised you? What would you do differently if you were to start over? Exactly what I'm talking about in this episode. Okay? That's one of the things that I would have, real heartfelt conversations. I would also offer to help someone for free, just to see if I actually like doing it or like being in the environments. Because there is a massive difference between thinking something sounds cool on paper and actually enjoying it day after day after day. I remember I wanted to be a therapist. Sounded perfect, right? That was before I knew my blueprint. That was before I had access to, the roadmaps and blueprints that I share with my clients now. And I thought, that sounds really cool. That's sexy. Deep work, transformation, helping people heal. I think I should become a therapist. I think I should go back to university and study therapy. And then I befriended a therapist. And you know what? She started sharing with me the behind the scenes of what it's actually like to be a full-time therapist. The emotional fatigue, the burnout, the holding space without being able to provide specific direction. And again, I'm not generalizing. Don't come at me if there are therapists listening to this podcast. I'm not saying that's therapy in general. I'm talking about one specific individual who started sharing with me what it actually looks like. Right? What it actually looks like to deal with, for example, insurance clients. And you know what? I was listening to her and it felt like such a contraction for me. I would feel contracted in my body because I was like, you know what? That's not who I am. I love strategy. I love tactical stuff. I love building businesses. Okay. I'm someone who you will come to me and I'll be like, roll up my sleeves and be like, okay, what are we building? Let's build something together. Let's build something aligned for you. That's the energy. So my assumption of therapy wasn't aligned with my blueprint. And so many of you run on assumptions. That's another big piece that I see many of you actually slip on. Assuming. You assume that owning a business means hustle, so you don't even consider business. You assume that you won't make the same amount or better money in a new career. You assume that being on social media means doing Gen Z dances on TikTok. Stop assuming and do your actual research. None of that, examples that I just given you, has to be your reality. You get to decide. Find people who are doing the work in a way that aligns with you and how you want to get it done and use them as your inspiration and your North Star. That is so important. I feel like I'm getting sidetracked with all the ranting. Don't assume. I cannot even tell you again how many times I'd ask my clients to give specific, I call them love work, tasks to go out there and do some research. They would come back and they would be shocked. They'd be like, oh my goodness, there's a whole world out there and didn't even know. I didn't even do the research because I assumed A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Stop assuming, okay? So going back to experimenting in month 2. So if possible, I take on a small project, whether it's paid or unpaid. It would not matter to me at that point because for me, it's all about data. I want to extract experience and data just to test it, whether I like it. How am I feeling doing it in real time with real stakes? Because, and this is so, so important, you will learn more from 30 days of testing than 6, 12, 18 months of strategizing. I promise you, I see this constantly. Someone spends half a year building, quote unquote, the perfect coaching business, the beautiful website, the gorgeous brand photos, carefully crafted, social media feed. They launch. They get the first clients and then they realize they absolutely hate coaching. I have people in my circle who experience that. Or, for example, they love it, but not the way they thought. Maybe they thought they'd love one-on-one, but they actually come alive in groups. That's true, by the way, if you are a teacher archetype or if you're a performer archetype in a light worker or healer archetypes. Or maybe, for example, they thought they wanted to teach, but they're way better at hands-on implementation. You cannot know this in your head. You have to feel it in your body in real time and you have to try. There's no downside to you trying. You just learn and you get clarity on the next step, okay? Please don't waste time with more mental gymnastics and just get down and dirty and try it out, okay? And then month 3 is about creating something real while you still have stability of your day job, if you still have your day job. And listen, again, this is me repeating myself, summarizing, do not quit your job yet. And I know, by the way, I just told you that I quit mine, but also I made my life so unnecessarily more stressful, and I don't recommend it. And by the way, when I was in the building of my practice stage, I did go back to corporate to have that stability and peace of mind and some structure in my days. So I would not have to put pressure on myself to earn right away in my new business, because you don't want that energy in your new venture or your new role. So instead, you want to build while you still have income coming in. Create some kind of simple online presence, for example. And I'm not talking about fancy anything. No fancy logos, no fancy photo shoots. You don't need that. Create a TikTok account if you like it. Create an Instagram account where people can actually find you and see what you're about. If you don't want to show your face yet, don't show your face. Again, when you look at certain creators, do not assume that you need to show up in the same way. If you see someone who is extroverted and you are introverted, don't assume you need to show up in the same way. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll notice I don't share a lot of my videos or a lot of my pictures. It's just not who I am. I'm an extremely private person. When I do share details, I'm very selective about what I'm sharing. And yet there are other coaches and other creators who are extremely successful, and they're always online talking to the camera. But I'm just not putting that pressure on myself to be like them. My job is to be myself. Okay, or start posting content that shows what you've experienced, what you believe in, what you're passionate about. Okay, generally useful stuff, your thoughts, your frameworks, your take on things. Let people see how you think. And then create one clear offer or create one simple product if you're in product business. Even if you're charging like pennies for it as you start out, even if it's just for practice, that will give you so much to work with. So you want to have something concrete that you can test with real humans who give you real money. Again, if you're creating products, create a tiny stock of products. Go to Etsy and sell them. It's so easy. You guys, in this day and age, you can make money with anything. Go on Etsy. Go on StanSite. You have so many sites that have complete infrastructure built for you. Get that feedback and then don't lie to yourself. By the way, that you need to have more products pre-made or that you need larger stock. That's just avoiding putting yourself out there. Okay. And this is huge, by the way. Have actual conversations with potential clients or potential employers. Not like someday when I'm ready conversations, but real, hey, I'm exploring this. Would you be interested? What do you think? Like, think about who would need your service and product and go talk to those people. Ask them questions. Because here's what happens. Small wins will start building your confidence. And the confidence builds momentum. And momentum is what you actually need to get unstuck, especially if you, again, feel like you're in this rut. I watch people wait until they feel quote unquote ready, and they wait for years, which eats at their energy. It eats at their self-esteem. It eats at their hope for a different life and a different career. And also, it eats at their physical health. Please don't be one of those. Life is so short, and it's supposed to be meaningful and fun. It's supposed to be fun. And while you're at it, by the way, that analysis paralysis doubt loop, someone with half your experience, 1/3 of your experience, 1/3 of your gifts, but twice your confidence is out there making it happen. Getting clients, getting sales, making mistakes, learning and growing. Okay? So please, again, try something tangible. Then we go into months 4 and 6, and this is where you actually start planning your exit if you still hold some sort of day job. And notice that's where we only start planning here. Only here we bring in planning. Not panic, not dramatically quitting without a safety net, unless obviously you absolutely have to. And here's the responsible way to do this, or here's what I would tell myself. You want to have at least 3 to 6 months of expenses saved, minimum. This is not negotiable. You cannot make good decisions when you're terrified about paying your bills. I've seen it too many times. The desperation energy that seeps into everything, your pricing, your boundaries, your decision making. So you want to save first. Then you want to line up either part-time work or contract gigs to bridge the gap. You don't have to go from full-time corporate to full-time entrepreneur overnight, for example, if you're considering a business. That's actually a recipe for burnout and panic. Give yourself a bridge. Make sure you have 3 to 5 real leads or opportunities before you jump. And not maybes, by the way. Not I think they might be interested, but actual people who've expressed genuine interest and intent. Also tell people what you're doing. This is scary but necessary. Stop keeping it a secret. Your network cannot help you if they don't know you're making a move. If you feel comfortable, post about it, talk about it, let people know, or at least let those people that support you know. And then set a date, or if you want, you can even commit it publicly. Not, again, some date, but a real date on the calendar. Then tell someone who will hold you accountable, because accountability, I see it over and over again, is what makes or breaks many of you, especially if you're neurodivergent. That's a whole different conversation. And listen, that fear, I want to reassure you and remind you, the fear will never go away. That's not how it works. You don't wait until you're not scared. You decide that being scared doesn't get to make the decision anymore. The price of living your life of alignment includes doing things scared. So you just make the decision. And then you bring the fear along for the ride. You go like, let's hop in the car. We're going to go together. You expect the fear to be there. And I absolutely would not let imposter syndrome make any of my decisions. You know that voice that says, who are you to do this? That's a lie. It's lying to you, and it will always be lying to you. So you want to ignore it and do it anyway. And finally, what I really, really, really need you to hear, there's no perfect time. Perfect circumstances don't exist. All of when my kids are bigger, when my husband's business is more stable, when my job is less busy, blah, 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 blah. I heard it all. I can assure you circumstances will never feel perfect. There will always be something. You will never feel fully ready. You will doubt yourself the entire way through. There will be moments, many moments, where you'll think, oh my God, what have I done? Maybe I should just go back to the safe thing. But here's also the other truth, the one that actually matters much more. Staying in misalignment will hurt you much worse than the discomfort of change. I can wholeheartedly promise you this. Staying in misalignment hurts worse. Every single day you stay somewhere where you don't belong, a little piece of you goes quiet, and I could cry. It's not always dramatic, it's just quiet, a little dimmer. You get a little more resigned. You get a little more convinced that this is just how life is. And then one day when you're 60, 70, 80, and you realize you spent the last 30, 40 years making everyone else comfortable while your soul solely starved. That's real heartbreak. I'm about to burst into tears, and I don't want to because I just made really nice makeup. And I know that I sound really dramatic right now, but I've sat across enough people at this point to know that that regret is so real, and it's so heavy, and it's extremely heartbreaking. So the question that you want to ask yourself is not, am I ready? That's not the question. The question is, how much longer am I willing to stay where I don't belong? So if this is landing with you, here's what I want you to do after this episode ends. Don't just feel inspired and then do nothing. Don't do that. Pick one thing from what I shared today, just one. Maybe getting brutally honest with yourself. Maybe having that hard conversation with your partner or your boss. Maybe confessing to yourself what you actually want. Maybe it's reaching out to 3 people for those coffee conversations. Maybe it's posting something vulnerable on social media about what you're exploring. Whatever it is, do it. Do it this week. Not soon, not when things settle down, not when the holidays are over. This week, today. Because the career, the life that you actually want, the one that is making you feel alive and truly yours, is on the other side of these experiments, of these decisions that you're too scared to take right now. And you deserve to find out what happens when you're brave enough to try. Really. I really hope that this lands with you. By the way, again, if you're a healer or a light worker listening to this, or you're interested in holistic healing and you're thinking, Vilma, but how do my gifts translate into business? Please take that free light worker archetype quiz. There's a link in the show notes. I cannot even tell you, I've been giving these mini readings on Instagram to people, and how many of them respond back to me, sometimes with tears, of saying how validating it feels to finally understand what their gifts are about and what they should lead with, because a lot of you are interested in many things and it's so hard for you to pinpoint what to start with. Those archetypes will show you what business model aligns with your energetic blueprint. So take that quiz. And for everyone else, just start. Messy, imperfect, scared, start anyway, or continue anyway if you already started. Because the world is waiting for only what you can bring to it. And I really thank you for being here. If this episode is hitting home and you want some personalized support, so you are sure that 2026, if you're listening to this real time, is when you finally pivot, make sure you reach out. Don't even reach out to me. Reach out to someone else. Reach out to a friend. Reach out to an accountability partner. Reach out to another coach if you feel like you resonate with someone else. But get that support. Line up that support. What it looks like for you. With you today. Hopefully that's a valuable reminder for many of you. And I'm wishing you magical holiday season. Again, if you're listening to this real time, stay aligned, stay brave, and remember, you're not behind. You're never behind. The best chapter of your life, of your career, is still waiting to be read. Sending you lots of love. With me today. If you enjoy this content, please make sure you subscribe to this podcast and leave a quick review to help us share the message of aligned work with the world. And if you'd like to learn more about how to find and transition into your very own purpose-led career or business that feels like getting paid for being yourself, make sure you check out the episode notes below. Have a wonderful week.